Okay, you guys, we're back. I have the sheet I was missing before. So first thing I'm going to do with this graph is I am going to add a title. So if you have the graph, if you click on the graph and this chart menu, and then there should be a chart layout spot. And under chart layout, you can select a chart title. And so right now there's no chart title. We'll go title above the chart. And there's a text box we can use. We just clicked into that text box. I'll highlight the text and overwrite it. And so our title is long. Titles on science graphs are supposed to be very descriptive. You're supposed to be able to read the title and essentially know just about everything about the graph. P-H-A-L-I-N. Getting better at spelling phenolphthalein. Infused agar cubes of various surface area to volume ratios after 8 minutes of exposure to well, I'm going to put vinegar in there, vinegar. Now, in the IB, your title is supposed to show the source of your error bars. So we're going to put error bars on this graph, and we need to specify that the error bars show plus or minus 1 standard deviation. So I'm going to go to that insert. Oh, I'll have to get it later. I'll get the plus or minus 1 later. Standard deviation. Okay, if I click out of there, so there's my title. See how it compresses the graph? I'm just going to make this bigger, and so that we can see what we're dealing with. Okay, I think I'll move it. Oops. Control Z is your friend. Undo. I'm just going to move it over here. Now, to get that plus or minus symbol that we need, I'm going to go to cancel. I'm going to go to our data table, to be honest with you, and I'm going to highlight this and copy it, Control C, and I'm going to move this back here. I said move it back here. There. Click where I need it. Control V for paste, and there's my plus or minus symbol. Okay, so we have a title. Now under chart layout again, we need axis titles. Horizontal axis, title below axis. And again, there's a text box that magically appears. I'll highlight the text and label this axis, surface area to volume ratio. And that's a ratio, so there's no units per se. It's just a ratio. Chart title we can get under axis titles. We can do a vertical axis title, and it's going to be rotated. And what that means is the text will go up and down. Control A will highlight all of the text there, and I'll overwrite it. Mean percentage volume diffused. And the units, of course, are percentage. So we put those in brackets. Mean percentage volume diffused. Good. So our graph is shaping up. We need a trend line. We need to do a few things here. So I'm going to click on any one of the data points, and you can see that the data points have been highlighted. And now that they're highlighted, I will right-click and select Add Trend Line. And the trend line that we need is just a simple linear trend line. Our data is linear. That should already be highlighted. Click OK. Boom, there's a line. So there's a lot of white space on this graph. both below our smallest data point and to the left of our smallest data point. So I'm going to change these scales. This is all from 0 to like 40 on this y-axis. It's useless. We don't need to see it. I'm going to click on the axis. You can see how it highlights the scale there. Right click. Format axis, I think. Yes. So for minimum, I'm going to set my minimum at 40. And hit OK. And so now the y-axis starts at 40 and goes to 100. And that gives us just a little bit of white space below and above. And so that's a better scale. So same thing. Over here I can live with this white space, but anything below surface area to volume ratio of 2 is not relevant to us. Our range of our independent variable goes from 2 to 6. So, you know, if this axis went from like 0 to 100 or something, that would just be a whole lot of extra numbers that we don't need to see. So same thing. Click on the x-axis scale, format axis, and on the minimum here, I'll make the minimum 1 and hit OK. And so there we go. Shaping up. We're getting close. In fact, we're really close. All we need to do is set up the error bars. Most difficult, complicated part of the whole thing. So, your best focus on this one, tune in. You have to click on the data series. So you have to be careful when you do that, because if you click on this point, you might get the trend line highlighted. You need the data series highlighted. So just single click on that data, any one of the data points, make sure that the data points are highlighted, and then it's a right click. No, it's not a right click. It is, yes, it is a right click. Format data series. And we can select error bars. Now, there are X error bars and Y error bars. What we need are Y error bars. Right now there are none. We need both. So that is a plus and a minus, above and below the data point. There's a few ways you can do this. A fixed value, so just random, plus or minus 10, or plus or minus 5, or plus or minus 1. You could do it by percentage. You could do it by standard deviation. However, what we need to do is use our standard deviations. These are going to be custom, so I'm going to click on custom. And what that means is each of these points in the data series is going to have its own customized error bar based on these standard deviations. Okay? So it's a bit of a schmozzle. We'll get into that. So I clicked on custom. I'm going to click on specify value. Now, I move this little thing over here. So for the positive error, I'm gonna delete that text. I'm gonna hit this funny little button, and then I'm gonna click and drag. These are my standard deviations. Click and drag, and then hit enter. And then same thing for the negative error. It's really important that you do this sequence properly. Highlight and delete that one, so it's clear field. Push this button, and then again click and drag, and then hit enter, and then hit OK. You might have to watch that a few times. I like error bars that have caps on either end, so there's no caps here. These are just like lines. Put like a little cap there, and then hit hit OK, and we're done. To be honest with you, I think the only thing we have to do now is I'm going to right click, so just anywhere on the graph, I'm going to right click. There we go, right click and select move chart. And I'm going to move it to a new sheet, and I'll call that sheet graph and hit OK. And I'll tell you the reason I'm doing that is because it will now print this graph all on its own page. Hopefully this is no big deal. Just click OK. I'm going to save this file, by the way. You should save nice and often. That's fine. So there's the graph. And if I go to File Print, there it is on a page. So that's perfect. It fits on a page. So graph done. You guys will have to save this Excel file that has your graph and your data graph and your data table, and you'll just have to upload it to Moodle. I'm going to set up a little spot where you would upload that thing to Moodle, and you're done. So remember, the goal here was, well, if you do an IB IA later on at Parkview, biology, chemistry, or physics, you'll have to be able to do a proper data table. You have to be able to do, I don't know if you can hear the noises here, you have to do a proper graph with proper error bars, and it's quite a skill. And it's pretty hard for us teachers to just say, yeah, do it on Excel. Go for it. I mean, it's pretty complicated. So hopefully this series of videos has helped you walk through all of the little details and getting that done. All right, that's it.